feel very happy and inspired to be in Greece for this occasion, Greece being the cradle of the Olympic Games, and even more so that we have the opportunity there tomorrow to open this session on the ancient site of the Olympic Games, being inspired and celebrating almost 3,000 years of our history. I need to mention a quote of Coubertin again, because he has a quote for almost everything. You know, we'll have this look into the past, into the history tomorrow, and then the next day or the next days we will look into the future, in particular with the election of a new president. And Coubertin said once, you know, the Olympic Games are always a pilgrimage to the past and an act of faith in the future. And this is what we are about to do. We will do tomorrow the pilgrimage to our past, and then the following days there we will perform the acts of faith in the brilliant future of the Olympic movement. Today's executive board was pretty, I can say, uneventful. Only one real decision, and this was about putting boxing on the program of the Olympic Games in LA 2028. After the provisional recognition of world boxing in February, then we were in the position to take this decision, so that this recommendation, of course, has to go to the session. But I'm very confident that the session will approve it, so that all the boxers of the world then have certainty that they can participate in the Olympic Games in LA 2028 if their national federation is recognized by world boxing. We also welcomed the president of the organizing committee of the Winter Olympic Games French Alps 2030, there Edgar Gros-Piron, who is bringing all his credibility and his experience, in this way following in the footsteps of Tony Estanguet for Paris, as an Olympic champion and Olympic medalist, and a long time involvement in the Olympic movement to this task, and we are sure he will, following again the footsteps of Tony Estanguet, there be a great partner for the IOC, and together we can then deliver brilliant Olympic Winter Games in the French Alps. Concerning Olympic Winter Games, we also heard a very precise and very encouraging and promising report about Milano Cortina 2026, in particular with regard to the very successful test events, which were highly appreciated by the participating athletes, and also by the respective international federations. And we also appreciated very much the fact that already now, 1 year before these Olympic Games, 600,000 of the overall 1.5 million tickets are already sold. And we even appreciated more the research they shared with us, which is showing how enthusiastic Italy and the Italians are about these games, where 84% believe that the Olympic values can promote social inclusion and help make sport a driver of change. And then in particular, it confirms what we have seen from the numbers in or with regard to Paris 2024, that we have indeed reconnected with the youth, with Gen Z, who is in this study concerning Milano Cortina, showing the same level of appreciation for the games as the average of the overall population, while in Paris the appreciation of Gen Z was even higher than for the average of the population. Also encouraging, the number of volunteers. They had for 18,000 positions, 100,000 applicants. All this supporting these effects of the ever-growing excitement and enthusiasm in Italy for these Olympic Winter Games.
Thank you. Carlos Gorman from Reuters. Mr. President, just on the boxing side of things, does that mean that whoever is now a member of World Boxing can recommend athletes for inclusion, or is there a date by which federations will need to join World Boxing in order for their athletes to be included in the Olympics? Thank you.
Well, thank you. I guess, but speaking under the supervision of Kit McConnell, that this will depend on the qualification timing. Kit?
Yes, thank you, Carlos. Thank you, President. Exactly as the President said, Carlos, it depends on the timing of the qualification events. Normally, those are somewhere between 2 years before the Games through to closer to the Games. So it's not frozen now, and obviously the provisional recognition and the session consideration of the inclusion in LA we see would be an acceleration of the number of national federations joining, building that already impressive number. But they just need to be members at the time of the qualification events at that specific point in time, as the President said. Thank you.
Okay, let's come right down the front here, please. Down the front here. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. And then we'll come to you, sir, afterwards, straight away.
Thank you. Wakako Yuki from Yomiuri Shimbun, President. Pilgrimage to the past and building the future. What is, of course, the Olympic movement today faces drastic changes, geopolitical uncertainty into the future. Why do you think it is significant to bring all the IOC members to the ancient Olympia or Pierre de Coubertin's monument, perhaps? What is the legacy that you wanted to tell to the Olympic movement to go back to the past and then face the future now?
Well, first of all, I think my successor is facing less uncertainty than I had to face when I started my mandate. Secondly, it's always good to remember where you're coming from and to remember the roots, and there to get inspired by the fact that already the ancient games were based on values, as demonstrated by the Ecce Sharia, the Olympic truce, already at the time, but also to be conscious of how fragile the games are. You know, they were enduring 1,200 years in history, and then when the politics and commercialization took over, when the politics and commercialization became priorities, they perished into oblivion for almost 2,000 years. And I think this is something we always have to have in mind. And what is how fragile the Olympic Games, by all the financial stability, relevance we have gained in the world is, and always to put values first, because this is not only the mission, this is also the conditio sine qua non for an enduring Olympic movement and Olympic Games.
Yeah, we're going to go straight back there, and then we're going to come to Graham Dunbar.
Christoph Becker from Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. Mr. Bach, I have a question, well, actually concerning the financial stability, because we couldn't help but notice there were quite a few contracts signed in recent weeks. Could you elaborate a little bit, A, on the financial stability that is provided through those contracts, B, to the timing of signing these contracts? Do you find it helpful to get this done before the new president is elected? And C, do you see any influence on the session and in particular on the election process by those contracts? Thank you.
Thank you for this question, which gives me the great opportunity to repeat all the figures you should be aware of. You know, that during my presidency we have achieved a 60% growth in the commercial revenues there, and that already now at the beginning of this Olympiad we have secured 7.5 billion US dollars after finalizing the last Olympiad just a couple of weeks ago, with an overall commercial revenue of $7.7 million, and still having a number of media rights and open, and a number of other interesting opportunities in the pipeline. So we can already now say also in the next Olympiad there will be a growth in the revenues, and it will not stop in 2028 because for the period after we have already secured I think it's 6.9 or 6.7 billion dollars. And even for the period after, for 2032 to 2036, we have secured already $4 billion US dollars. I think that's numbers which speak for themselves. If you, in particular, if you look at the overall environment, and if I look at my colleagues in other international organizations who have there to face significant decline, with the exception of maybe FIFA, but if you look at all the UN organizations and other NGOs like the IOC, I don't think that anybody can demonstrate such a financial stability. And this contract with Comcast NBC is the result of a negotiation which is going on for, I think, almost a year, if not more than a year, and where the executive board has always been informed about the process and the progress in these negotiations, and has encouraged us to follow this up, because we could, with this, not only ensure their financial stability, we could also ensure that in the United States the audience in the United States can fully benefit from the experience of Comcast NBC. This is why these negotiations all the time, and then also the signature of the agreement was was very much supported by the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. And we could also make sure with this partnership, what we made sure with the first contract we had with Comcast at the beginning of my presidency, that where we changed there from NBC to Comcast, and we changed at the time from EBU to Warner Brothers, because we wanted to have, and we want to have, gatekeepers who can serve the audience on all platforms, whatever the development for the future is, whether the percentage of the audience on linear TV stays as it is, whether digital is gaining more and more ground, or whether this is happening in parallel, or whether it's about streaming, where Comcast, NBC is also they're in the position to provide through Peacock the US audience with fascinating images from the games.
Okay, we're going to go to Graham here first, and then immediate neighbour.
Thank you very much, Mark. Good afternoon.
I forgot the second part, whether it will influence I don't think so. I would not know how, because you know, 3 of the candidates are in the IOC executive board. They fully supported it. USOPC they fully supported it. It's also an extension of an existing contract with an additional advantage, of which we can benefit already now. So there is, we have generated income from now on. I would not know how this could influence the election.
Thanks, President. Okay, Graham Dunbar.
Hello, Mr. President. About influencing the election, I mean, it's become part of the narrative of the campaign that maybe you have a favoured candidate. Can you just say today whether there has been any lobbying or campaigning or advising on your behalf towards any of the voters that would leave any of them of a mind to be comfortably satisfied that you were trying to steer their vote towards Kirsten Coventry?
Oh, what I felt obliged to say about the profile of my successor, I have said in Paris, explaining my decision why, beyond the reasons of good governance. I think it's the right time, because it's new time which require new leaders, and I have nothing to add there to this.
Okay, next 2, and then I'm going to come down to Xinhua.
Hallo, Herr Bach, Markus Hamm hier vom ZDF, ich grüße Sie und alle da oben. Could I speak in German actually, or?
We don't have translation, so
okay, no
sorry.
Worries, no worries.
Yeah.
Mr. Bach, it's 12 years' time now. You speak about facts and figures, of course, and your period, but how do you actually feel going the last steps of your presidency, and how do you actually feel of ending your career and those 12 years? How is it for you personally?
I feel very relaxed for two reasons. The first reason is it's the first period during all my presidency where I do not have an existential problem for the Olympic movement or the Olympic Games on my desk. What I had during all the 12 years ahead of every edition of every Games I have been presiding. And secondly, I feel very relaxed for the reasons I gave in Paris. I feel that I have given to the Olympic movement what I could give. In German, we would say, ich bin mit mir im Reinen. And this is, in fact, a very good feeling. So you see me relaxed.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to take two here. Is it two? Just one. Okay, gentleman here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I have one question to Mr. President. Tomorrow the session will begin in the Asian Olympia. When we stand there, we look to the past, we know where we come from. And when we look to the future, there are many challenges. So as a president with many successful innovations, how do you believe the IOC should balance the traditional Olympic venues with today's challenges? Thank you.
The only advice that I can give to my successor is, first of all, keep putting the athletes at the heart of the Olympic movement. Secondly, keep the unity of the Olympic movement. Well, unity does not mean that everybody must have the same opinion, but unity means that all are committed to the same values. And in order to keep this unity, you must follow two principles. The one is solidarity. Every member, in particular every national Olympic Committee of the 206, must be treated in the same way, must have access to the benefits of the Olympic movement, and must have the chance to develop, to grow, and to try to close the gap in the Olympic movement between the privileged national Olympic committees coming from privileged countries and coming from less privileged countries. And that also means that each of these national Olympic committees must not only have a voice, but must have a vote. And the second principle is the political neutrality, because if in this, in particular in this situation we are living in, there geopolitically, where a new world order is in the making, you may see attempts from one or the other of these emerging blocs, one or the other of these major players in this new multipolar world, may try to pull the Olympic movement on their side, given the relevance we have reached there now in the meantime. And if the Olympic movement would take the position in favor of one or the other of these new blocs or emerging powers, then the Olympic movement would be torn away. Then it would not be a global movement, anymore, then it would just be another instrument, another tool for politics to divide this world even more.
Thank you. We're going to go right to the back here. Yeah, gentleman there. Thank you. And then we'll come on.
Hi, Mr. President. You mentioned earlier that you feel more relaxed now that your presidency is coming to an end. Looking back a little bit at your tenure at the IOC, what do you consider the most, the biggest achievement in shaping actually the IOC under your presidency? Of course, I feel you probably have a lot of emotions right now going through you. And what do you think, what would the key achievement of taking away of this presidency, and what do you think that you could have done something different, perhaps?
No, there is, that's not up to me. What is the key achievement? We will try in the session to look back, at the achievements, and there it's very by highlighting the results of the different Olympic agendas. And there I think it's extremely difficult to put one out because these agendas, whether it's the Olympic Agenda 2020, whether it's the +5, whether it's the Olympic Artificial Intelligence agenda, they're all jigsaw puzzles. And so, the whole picture has to fit. If you can put a focus on gender equality, if you're not looking at the new sports to be attractive for the young generation, you will be disconnected, and therefore very difficult to figure one out. And then what was more difficult to organize in the interest and for the sake of the athletes, the Olympic Games in Tokyo during a pandemic, or managing to get the athletes from all the 206 NOCs to Paris without any boycott. I don't know. It's the summary of the question. I can only ask you then maybe to follow the presentation of Olympic agenda, and then you can choose one, and I will agree then with your choice.
Thank you. Yeah, I think there's a gentleman down here who wanted a question.
Thank you, Mr. Wacht. Robert Kemper, German TV, ARD. I have one question to the situation with Russian sport. Could you tell us, are there at the moment any talks, for example, with Russian sports officials or Russian sport organizations of bringing the Russian Olympic Committee back to the Olympic movement? If yes, could you tell us a little bit about this, the impact of these talks? And if not, in your point of view, what for conditions needs to be fulfilled that these kind of conversations could start from your point of view?
We have always maintained on the working level contacts, not on my level or the level of the executive board, but on the working level, the contacts have always been maintained. There is nothing to report on this. There can be no results on the working level. And secondly, the conditions are very clear. They have to follow the rules. Everybody in the Olympic movement who is following the rules of the Olympic Charter is welcome. And everybody who is not following the Olympic Charter is not welcome. So the ball is in the court of the Russian Olympic Committee.
Okay, I think we've come to an end, unless there's a final. Yes, we'll have a final question down here.
Mr. Bach, Markus Tepper, ARD German Radio. Looking beyond next Thursday, the transition time between the election and the handover to the new president is about 3 months. And I took a look into the charter, and there's nothing to read about the transition time. And when I remember when you were elected 12 years ago, you put in work high speed. 3 months later, we were in Monaco for an extraordinary session. So why do you have such a long transition time this year?
Well, first of all, it's not a long transition time, and we have introduced it exactly for the reasons you are mentioning. I had a transition time of 2 hours and had to spend it in the session. Then I arrived in Lausanne, and there was no transition. And this was a situation I did not appreciate, and therefore I made the proposal to the executive board to have this transition time as an offer to then the president-elect to come to Paris to be made familiar with the management, with the people, of which I knew the top, but not the rest, to become familiar with working mechanisms, to become familiar with the many institutions and organizations that we are working with, not to have then the new president having to go there and say, you know, I'm the new one, and what happened in the past, and what can we do? But there again, if the successor wants to introduce them and to hand over in a way you have it in many governments, you have it in business. You know, where for CEOs you have a transition period, you have transition periods for the presidents of a country. So it's not something we invented out of the blue. It's a service for the president-elect.
Thank you very much. I suspect we'll be seeing an awful lot of each other over the next few days. Thank you very much, President, and thank you very much to Christoph and Kit for their contributions. Thank you.